Hi guys, thank you so much for tuning into my channel. I have missed you guys so much. I've missed being in front of the camera and just talking to you guys, and I'm glad that I can finally do that again. I went to Mexico a couple of weeks ago, and today I just want to talk to you guys about my experience there, and I'm going to divide it into like 4 parts. So the people, the culture, the food, and the scenery and overall experience. I've been wanting to talk about it, but I just really haven't had the time to come in front of the camera and do this video, so I'm glad that I can finally do that. Now, before I start, I'm just gonna say this my experience, I only went to I went to 3 states, and even in those states I only went to like a couple of cities and towns in those states, so it's just going to be a review of those states. It's not going to be a reflection of the whole of Mexico, but yeah, I hope you guys like this video, and if you haven't already, please subscribe. If you are subscribed, please hit that bell button so you can be up to date with all my videos and get a notification whenever I post. So about 3 weeks ago I went to Mexico with Luis and Mayenli. So Luis had not been to Mexico in like 9 years, so it was kind of like us going back for the first time, and it was pretty cool. I'm not gonna lie, when we decided to go to Mexico, I was a bit worried, just because I'm black and we're going to a small town, and I was going to be the only black person there, and I knew for sure that I was going to be the only black person. So you know, when you know that you're going to be in a situation like that, it's kind of like I don't want to be like uncomfortable a lot and things like that. But when I went there, it was completely different from what I expected. So I expected I thought that obviously my skin color was going to be something that people would point out and things like that, but it wasn't. Actually, when I went to in Toronto, there are a lot of Mexicans, but a lot of like Mexicans in Toronto are very, like the ones that I'm around are pretty fair skinned, and then there's some brown people. But when I was in Sakapu, almost everybody was brown, and there was like a varying shades of brown. I saw people that were as dark as me, and it was like pretty cool. So there were different shades of brown. It was amazing. A lot of people just assumed that I spoke Spanish, which was pretty cool because that has never happened to me. Nobody assumed that I was Mexican, but everybody just assumed that I too spoke Spanish, so that was really cool. So I got to speak to a lot of people who just spoke to me in Spanish. That was cool. And the other thing is that like I thought like well, people did refer to me as a morena. Like for me, I always refer to myself as negra in Spanish. I don't refer to myself as morena, because like morena to me is kind of like dark skinned in a way, but anybody can be dark skinned anything, you know. You could be like a dark-skinned indigenous person. So to me it's like not really reflective of what I am, so I always refer to myself as negra. But a lot of people refer to me as well, those who chose to refer to me by skin color refer to me as la morena.
Like, oh, vi una morena en la casa de Doña Irma.
So I saw a brown skin girl in a brown skin girl in Doña Irma's house, and I was just wondering who that was, because there's no one like that. So the thing that actually drew a lot of attention on me was actually my hair. So I didn't actually go with hair like this, but if you follow me on Instagram, you will see that most of the time I wore like a curly afro, and a lot of people called me La China. Oh, la muchacha con los chinos. Chinos is curls in, well, at least in Sakapu, that's how they say curls. So a lot of people were very intrigued by my hair. Nobody tried to grab or touch my hair, which was really awesome, but a lot of people were like, la muchacha con los chinos, la chica con los chinitos. Mayenli also had his afro out, so it was like, oh yeah, the people with the curly hair. That was the identifier for us, so that was really cool. I had that scene, it was interesting because I had seen people with like 4C hair. So we went to an indoor market in Guadalajara, and there was like a couple of people who had like really curly hair. There was even some guy with a 4C afro. He just looked like a light skin. He just looked like he was a light skinned black person, but you know. So yeah, so a lot of people were intrigued by my hair. Luis had also told me that there have been black people in the town, however most of them have been male athletes, so it was kind of like I was the first. For some people, I was like the first black female person that they were seeing in real life, so it was kind of awkward. Some people even tried to like take pictures with me, and I was like, I mean, like, it's gonna be hella weird in 20 years when they see your picture and they're like, who's that black who is that black person in your photo album? But yeah, I'm gonna be in a couple of random people's photo albums and stuff like that. It was cool. A lot of people were really nice. It was in Sakapu, at least, it was a very communal it was very communal. So in the morning, the experience wasn't like in Toronto where you just like wake up, you walk straight, you do whatever you have to do, you don't talk to anybody. There in the morning, people will greet you, they'll say hi, everybody would like offer you things. It was really nice. It was really nice. With the population that I came across in Michoacan, there was a strong indigenous presence, and I feel like there's this idea in we have this idea in at least here in Canada, that everybody in Mexico is just mestizo, so that's mixed with indigenous and a European. But like when I was in Sakapu, and because I visited like 4 or 5 cities and small towns around, you could see that there was a strong indigenous population, and they did not look like they were mixed with anything. They were brown skinned. In fact, you could even say that they were copper colored brown skinned people. You got out of the cities and you were closer to the pueblos, you could see that they had maintained their indigenous identity. A lot of those populations still spoke Purepecha, which is like a indigenous language. When we went to Janitzio and Pátzcuaro, a lot of the people were trilingual. They spoke Spanish, Purepecha, and English because of the tourism. There was no time. It was kind of like there was no time when I was in Mexico City was another case, but there was no time when I was in Michoacan or when I went to Jalisco that I felt like I didn't feel like an outsider. It was weird, but I didn't feel like an outsider. I just felt like, yeah, I'm here, what's up? Like, we're gonna speak Spanish, we're gonna chill, we're gonna eat, and yeah. So when I went to Guadalajara, it was kind of a different vibe, just because where I was very touristy, and a lot of people, because there were a lot of American tourists. Actually, there were a lot of American tourists when I was there, so people just automatically assumed that I was an American tourist. Luis and his friends went to a restaurant, and it was funny because Luis and his friend clearly look mestizo, like the stereotype of like what they would say that the average Mexican looks like. And then Luis's friend's wife is a white Mexican. She identifies as a white Mexican, and then there was obviously me. So when they came around and they gave the menus, they gave Luis and his friend, they gave him Spanish menus, and her, who is a white Mexican who has grown up in Mexico, she received an English menu, and they gave me an English menu too. So that was kind of like but yeah, that was about it. Apart from that, like even when I was there, a lot of everybody just spoke to me in Spanish. And then when we went to Mexico City, people just thought that I was just I was Afro-Latina, so they thought I was like some guy even asked if I was Colombian, and yeah, people just thought I was Afro-Latina. Some people thought I was Colombian. Colombian is what I got most of the time. So that was basically my experience with the people. The food was amazing. Oh my gosh, the food was so good. My mother-in-law owns like a juicery, I guess that's how they call it, where they make juices in the market, and she made me some carrot juice. I never drink carrot juice. I was like, who the hell drinks carrot juice? She made me some carrot juice, girl. I was drinking carrot juice every single day. I was like, I never even knew carrot juice could be this delicious. The food was so fresh. The fruits were so good. There were a lot of fruits that I used to have in Ivory Coast as a kid. So I had a lot of those fruits. So everything was so fresh and organic and good. The tortillas, oh my gosh. I actually stopped and I asked Luis, I was like, why the hell do we eat tortillas in Toronto? Because the ones that we have here, like, they're not even, you cannot even compare the tortillas in Mexico to the crap that we're eating here in Canada. In the morning in Sakapu, there was a person that would like ride their bike, and they will come and they will deliver, they will sell masa, so like the cornmeal dough to the people, and he'll just go around the houses and sell that dough to the people, and people would either make the fresh tortillas, or there'll be stands where people were making fresh tortillas and you could just buy it there. Even in the restaurants, the tortillas were amazing. Everything had flavor, everything was good, everything was nicely seasoned and spiced. It was just amazing. I loved the food there. So we visited, in regards to the scenery, we visited a lot of like touristy areas. We visited in, I think that was in Janitzio. We visited Morelos, which was one of the like Freedom Independence Day fighters. We had lots of beautiful places, like we went to Los Espinos, we went to a couple of festivals. There was an ice cream festival, El Festival de las Nieves, in Sakapu when we were there, and there was so that was cool. One thing that was really cool about Mexico is like when you went around the houses, you could see people painted the houses whatever color they wanted it to be. So it was super colorful. Everywhere was colorful, especially when you went more towards like the indigenous places. A lot of purple, a lot of yellow. It was very green. Even Mexico City, where I was in Mexico City, was very green. So we stayed in Mexico City. We stayed in where did we stay? Hyatt Regency. I can't remember the neighborhood, but it was a really good neighborhood. It was pretty safe. It was very safe. In fact, I'm not even gonna lie, when we were in Mexico City, the parts that we visited in Mexico City were a lot nicer. They looked way nicer than some parts here in Toronto. Like, and when I'm talking about here in Toronto, I'm talking about like the Queen Streets, King Streets of Toronto. So a lot of those places looked a lot better. Now, when we were in Mexico City, like you could really see like you can really see the racial disparity in Mexico, because in the city, when we were at the hotel, the only the locals that were working, the locals that were like the staff in the hotel and everything, a lot of them, almost all of them, were like brown skinned, either mestizo or indigenous people, and all the like rich people looked white. And I'm not even talking about the tourists, I'm talking about the ones that you could hear speak Spanish, the Mexican ones. Yeah, they pretty much, most of them were, if you don't want to say white, I guess white passing. But yeah, there was that. And yeah, for me, like when I went, because obviously I stayed in a very safe neighborhood in Mexico City, so it was really nice. Now So it was really nice. I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed my vacation. I enjoyed my stay. I enjoyed the people that they were so nice, like, nah, it was really good. It was a good experience, and I would really recommend it. As in, a lot of people, at least the places that I visited, I would really recommend other black people to go there too, because a lot of times as a black person, it's like you don't want to go on vacation and feel uncomfortable where you're going. Like you want to go and explore it, but you also don't want to feel uncomfortable where you're going. And I felt like where I was a really great, and it's a good place. If, for example, you are one of those people that are worried about your experiences as to where you're gonna go and how people are gonna treat you, it's the places that I visited are really good for black people. Anyway, that was my experience in Mexico. Would I go there again? The different places I visited, so Janitzio, Pátzcuaro, Zacapu, Morelia, Guadalajara, Mexico City, I would definitely visit them again. And I also want to visit the other places. I want to go to some of the touristy places too. I want to go to the beach. You know what I also want to do? I want to go to where the black Mexicans are, because I want to see them too, you know. So for those who don't know, actually, like Michoacan was also one of the states that had where a lot of the slaves were dropped off at. So they've obviously either blended in with the population or moved out. Luis is actually 15% African according to Ancestry DNA. But yeah, so I would also want to visit the different places where they are. Go to Guerrero just to visit, just to see my brothers and sisters on the other side, you know. Would I move to Mexico? That's an interesting one. I mean, like, if a good job opportunity arose and they asked me to move to Mexico, that would definitely be a place that I'll be fine moving. So I wasn't very comfortable with the racial disparity, but you know, it is what it is. And also I feel like that's really the socioeconomic disparity. The wealth gap was like, it was hella visible, you know. You could just tell that it was ridiculous. So it's definitely someplace that I would consider moving to and living if an opportunity arose. But you know, I also like to be around black people, so I'll probably have to move to the black side of Mexico. I hope you guys like this video. I hope it was not too long, and I will see you guys in my next video.